So I thought I'd give you a peek into really an artist mid-project. I'm working on something now that's really changing my career, changing my life. And so I wanted to give you all a peek at it mid-process. So here we go. War Toys is a work-in-progress photo essay and the title of my talk tonight. It's taken me my entire career as both an artist and so-called toy photographer to develop both the project and the methods behind it. And it's likely going to take me years to finish if I ever do. As I've learned very quickly, it's the sort of project that's really hard to put down once you start. The goal of the project is to articulate children's accounts of war using principles of play and art therapy. In practice, children essentially act as art directors, showing me what they've experienced. I use locally bought toys to recreate as accurately as possible what the children have told me in the actual places that they happened. My intention is to give context to their accounts while sharing their perspectives, which are often unseen and in many cases undervalued. Despite having a cognitive ability to understand what's happening around them, children often lack the communication skills to directly comment and tell you what they've seen and what they've felt. It's especially true with children who have been traumatized. Children who have traumatized, especially in extreme cases, can lose the ability to speak altogether. To them, they've almost reverted to an infant-like state. Play and art is how you can unlock their experiences and begin the process of healing and understanding. At its core, it's the exact same for all of us. When we all grew up, we had these tools at our disposal. For me, the backyard adventures of Han Solo and G.I. Joe were organic recreations of my day-to-day life, my daily hopes, my daily fears. It all came out. Problems in school, problems at home, and a million questions about what it meant to be human, what it meant to live in the adult world, was all acted out organically. We're all built with this. Every human everywhere has this ability. It's a tool that, especially with trained professionals, can be very, very useful for unlocking and helping these children. For the record, I'm no expert. I know just enough about art therapy and play therapy to understand the dangers involved. It's why I've felt I've had to find a group of professionals to help guide the project and guide me along. Chief among them is the wonderful Dr. Judith Rubin. Judy, as she's better known, is an accomplished author. She's written books like The Art of Art Therapy, Child Art Therapy. She's also a professor at the University of Pittsburgh. And most importantly, she was original cast member of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The rest of the team that's assembled around Judy is amazing, but I really want her to adopt me. I'm going to keep trying on that. So, to further ensure the health and safety of the children, I've also insisted on working through established humanitarian organizations. I rely on local art therapists and caregivers to conduct art and play-based interviews on my behalf. In the majority of cases, I observe play sessions and art sessions and then consult with the therapist after the fact to understand what I've seen. It's not apparent. Without having someone who's trained, it's hard to know exactly what's going on. The order in which things were drawn, the order in which things were placed, it all reveals volumes. It's something that's hard to know. Really, just watching the entire process has been an incredible learning experience for me. But really, the same thing can be said for the entire project. The things I've seen have been educational, to say the least. I began production last year with a trip to the West Bank supported by St. Lawrence University. Within my first few days, I got to observe my first art therapy session at the Spafford Children's Center in East Jerusalem. Children rushed to grab pastels and pens and paper and gleefully carved out spots on the floor to work. My heart sank as I watched a little girl quietly, intensely coloring in pools of blood. Violence was everywhere in each one of their drawings. There were pictures of planes and trains and boats and everything you can think of mixed in with missiles and mortars and soldiers and the dead. Despite all of this, in most of the drawings, there's at least one smiling child, either observing the events or being shot. I can't think of a better example of the power of art therapy. At this age, the children were too young to think about putting a frowny face on their stick figures. To them, it wasn't connected to emotion, it's just how people looked. Sorry, it's a little hard. I roamed the crowded open-air markets of East Jerusalem looking for toys for my shots. As I picked up the various poly bags and vehicles and everything around me, I auditioned them all in my mind. These toys would represent the children's people, the people they've lost, the people they know, the people in their drawings. They had to be perfect. I set up the toys along the barrier wall just past the Calandia checkpoint on the road to Ramallah. With me was an unforgettable drawing made by one of the little boys. It showed a soldier guarding the wall and a little boy shot in the head, pool of blood gathering beneath him. As I started to lay out the shot and put the boy in place, I used a little plastic syringe to, spray out the pool of blood. I thought I could hear yelling in the distance. By the time I started to put the soldier in place, a full-blown protest was behind me at the checkpoint. People were yelling and screaming and chanting and advancing on a line of IDF soldiers who appeared almost as soon as they did. People in cars were honking furiously, trying to get out of the checkpoint. Over the loudspeakers, they told the crowd to disperse, first in Arabic, then in English. I decided to stay focused on the photos even before the stun grenades and tear gas started to go off. As people ran and screamed, I decided to remain focused on the photo. I looked down the viewfinder, pushed the shutter button, and kept going. On both sides of the border were journalists to capture this moment, but no one was there to capture what I came to get, a boy's perspective on war. It seems mad that I didn't turn the camera toward the people running away with swollen faces and red eyes, but I felt I made the right choice. I came and I got a little boy's perspective.
The battle will be over. For that day when we shall lay down our burdens and study war no more. Finally, brethren, after a while, the battle will be over. For that day when we shall lay down our burdens and study war no more. Finally, brethren, after a while, the battle will be over. For that day when we shall lay down our burdens and study war no more. Finally, brethren, after a while, the battle will be over. For that day when we shall lay down our burdens and study war no more. Finally, brethren, after a while, the battle will be over. For that day when we shall lay down our burdens and study war no more.
So despite the work you've seen, I feel like I'm scratching the surface. There are children in southern Israel who daily endure rocket and mortar attacks. 20 miles away from them, there are children in Gaza, caught in the crossfire of retaliatory airstrikes and targeted assassinations. I'll be returning to the Middle East soon to work with both. Israeli or Palestinian makes no difference to me, it makes no difference to the project. Then, it's Colombia, Bogota, Medellin, and the small mining town of Segovia. Then, Uganda, South Sudan. There is unfortunately no shortage of war zones to choose from. By the time this project is done, I want to present a global perspective on war from the children living in its day-to-day reality. And really, as challenging as it's going to be, it's not going to be that hard, because play is just as universal as war. Thank you.